Hi guys, how is everybody today? Welcome in to Rover Sports, the show. Today we are going to be talking about the New York Jets, and I had a live stream, or I had a show yesterday that I was ready to release, but it was kind of vulgar. It was taken on the cell phone. Now I'm here in studio, and this is a lot better. So basically, what I am going to talk about today is the New York Jets and the organization as a whole. I'm going to lay out exactly what I think is going to happen to the New York Jets for a 2-year period right now in this video. And I'm not going to say I think, because these are all my thoughts. I said I think like maybe 20 times yesterday. So I'll try my best not to say that as much. It's still going to happen, though. I look at the New York Jets, and you hire Adam GASE as your head coach. Adam GASE in Miami was a train wreck. He had no stability. He was not a threat at all. He elected to go with Ryan Tannehill. He had Kenyon Drake as his running back. He maybe had, who was his wide receiver down there? Kenny Stills, who was okay. Devontae Parker, who never developed, by the way, a first rounder out of Louisville. Never developed. That team, when you played the Miami Dolphins, that team would only score about 20 to 23 points a game. They were not an offensive juggernaut. And you could say that it was Adam GASE having to deal with Ryan Tannehill, but he elected to go with Ryan Tannehill. He's the head coach. He is in charge of decisions. He elected to have that mediocre ball club. And that's what Miami was, a mediocre, shitty football team. Piece of shit football team that They never threatened anybody. They never threatened New England. They never threatened the Jets or the Buffalo Bills. They had 1 year where they went 10-6 and played a crap schedule, kind of like the Tyrod Taylor year. And they went to Pittsburgh and they got their ass wiped with a backup quarterback in Matt Moore. And maybe if Tannehill was in the game, I seriously doubt that they would have done anything in those postseasons. The defense that Miami had was an opportunistic defense that wasn't elite at all. Their home field, they were okay at home. Like, they'd sneak up on teams and play the role of spoiler. They were essentially the Washington Redskins, where you looked at this head football coach and they were just trending towards complete purgatory. They were not the shittiest team in the league, but they were far from ever being relevant, scary, innovative, exciting, long throws, dynamic. They were not a dynamic football team. And they were coached in a very mediocre kind of shitty way. Like, I look at mediocre and I don't get excited for average. I mean, maybe Jets fans are getting excited for average. Plus, you had Adam GASE. He then elects to go with Kiko Alonso on his football team. That is one of the dirtiest players in the NFL. He then ostracizes himself towards Jarvis Landry, who's a talent. He then runs off Jay Ajayi, who's a talent. When I look at Jay Ajayi and I look at Le'Veon Bell, Jay Ajayi seems a lot more stable in his decision-making processes and his personality than Le'Veon Bell. I mean, I know we don't know these players. Oh, Spencer, you don't know these players. Well, why would I ever get to know them? Maybe in 5 years my show gets picked up by ESPN, by Fox Sports, and then I won't be able to criticize these guys as much. I won't be able to say his personality sucks, his thing sucks. I'll be watered down, but then I'll actually have access to these people. I'll actually try to let you know what's going on, and I'll try not to sell out. I will. But I doubt that I'm ever going to get that opportunity, and it's kind of nice just chilling here on YouTube, to be honest with you. But yeah, we don't know completely the personalities, right? And if we did, if I knew Adam GASE personally, I wouldn't feel as comfortable making this damn video, or if I knew Gregg Williams. But the point that I'm trying to say is that now the Jets want to probably bring in Le'Veon Bell. And Adam Gase hated Jay Ajayi. He ran him out for a freaking 4th round pick. A 4th round pick. He just let Jarvis Landry walk, and Jarvis Landry hates this dude. Now on this football team, you have Jamal Adams. You have guys in the secondary that are very outspoken on social media. You have a owner in Chris Johnson who sounds like a grandma. Sounds like Grandma Johnson. This is how he talks. This is how the leader of your organization speaks. You know, when we looked at Adam in the process, we had an opportunity that I think he can work well with Sam Darnold at quarterback. And I look at Adam, and I really think that he can bring a lot to our ball club in a lot of ways. Adam is an innovative teacher, and Sam Darnold, our quarterback, and our offense is going to be developed under Adam Gase's lead. So you have that guy that you just want to go, wah! You just want to scream in his face. You want to do the thing from what was that movie? From Step Brothers. You want to be Rob Rowe and go, wah! You want to go right up to his damn face and talk to us. Let us know. Raise your voice, sir. Instead of talking in this dialect, try to speak louder, more passionately. So he's kind of a mouse. He's a mouse. So you have Mouse Grandma Johnson. And then who does Mouse decide to hire? The complete opposite of a mouse. A caged tiger. A tiger that is wild. A tiger that's out of control. Gregory Bountygate Williams. Gregg Williams. So you now have Gregg Williams and Chris Johnson, working together. First of all, Gregg Williams, how is he going to get along with Mr. Moneyball, Mr. Numbers Maccagnan? Maccagnan has zero personality too. He's just a guy who just runs numbers his whole life. So you have nerdy guys. You have, Johnson, you have Maccagnan, no leadership, and now you bring in Gregg Williams, who will talk. He will actually set the tone, but he's a tiger, and he's going to flip out and lose his shit. And then you have Adam Gase. You have Adam Gase that pretty much offers no leadership at all. So Gregg Williams is going to overtake this damn operation. He's the best leader there. He's the best speaker there. He probably looks at the Jets and goes, Jamal Adams is good. Tremaine Johnson, Marcus May, the secondary is really good. The linebackers, I think, have Avery Williamson, Darren Lee, a little bit of talent. And then up front, we need to get some defensive players that can clog up the running lanes. And then I'm going to be good. I'm going to be running a damn good defense, and Adam Gase is going to suck on offense, and I'm going to be the interim guy again. That's probably what Gregg Williams is thinking. But Adam Gase literally has zero leadership skills. Adam Gase is a guy that pisses off everybody. Adam Gase is a hermit crab who keeps to himself. You then have the weakest CEO in the NFL in Christopher Johnson. And then you have Maccagnan that's a flat-out nerd that literally can't talk to anybody and get any opinion. He does not work well with others. He kind of sucks, to be honest with y'all. I know he brought in Tremaine Johnson. I know he can crunch numbers, but there's a lot more to being a general manager than crunching numbers. You have to communicate with your coaching staff. And Todd Bowles and Maccagnan, they couldn't communicate at all. There would always be differences in draft opinions. I don't even think Todd Bowles gave a shit who the Jets, signed at quarterback. I don't even know if he knew that the Jets selected Sam Darnold. I know that Todd Bowles liked Alvin Kamara. I know that he liked Kamara. I think Casey Rogers was at Tennessee or something and knew how damn good Alvin was. And Maccagnan didn't listen to Todd Bowles about Kamara, and you guys can read about that because that's publicized. That actually has reputable information behind it. But you look at this organization, and how the hell are they going to work together? How is Adam Gase and Gregg Williams going to work together? You have the tiger, and then you have the weird four-eyed crazy man. His eyes are like... his eyes are bugged out. His eyes are freaking bugged out in a crazy way. Guy can't speak worth a damn. There's no leadership. There's no continuity. Look at the best organizations in the NFL. The LA Rams are one of them. They have Sean McVay, Wade Phillips, who totally get along. Sean McVay and Wade Phillips, both very easy personalities to work with. Then you have Les Snead, who's a very cool general manager, who's very tight with Sean McVay. And then you have Stan Kroenke, the owner. In Cleveland, the Hasms aren't great, but you have a guy in Dorsey, in John Dorsey. And Dorsey's going to be able to get along with Freddie Kitchens. And Freddie Kitchens will be able to talk with Dorsey, and everybody's in that boat together. That's going to be a successful organization going forward, especially with the quarterback over there. Then you have San Francisco. I think it's a great model. You know, Jed York and Jim Harbaugh didn't get along, but now you have John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, Saleh, and Jed York. And Lynch and Shanahan are attached at the hip, have a great relationship. You know, Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis, Andy Reid, Brett Veach, his own guy that he hired from Philadelphia and Delaware and pretty much instated him, and Lamar Hunt, who's a great, great owner. Then, you know, the Patriots, of course, with Belichick and Ernie Adams. So all the best teams all have great staffs and continuity. And Matt Nagy and and Ryan Pace. What an organization. They get along incredibly well, Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. Those two guys are young. Those two guys are very calm, cool, and collected. And those two guys know what the heck they're doing. Right now we have McCagnon, who's a complete numbers nerd, just sits in his closet all day. And on the other side of the office, you got a Chip Kelly personality that doesn't really communicate with his players whatsoever in Adam Gase. And they're never going to communicate. They're never going to talk. Adam Gase doesn't give a crap about personnel. That's the problem with Adam Gase. He loves game planning. He loves scheming for opponents. He's better as an offensive coordinator at looking who he has and then dissecting how he can go about it. But him and Tannenbaum, I don't really think that they communicated a lot through the process about who they were selecting, because obviously they drafted Jarvis Landry and they drafted Jay Ajayi. And they drafted these kids, and they ran these kids off because of their personalities. So obviously, there was no vetting of the personalities done by Adam Gase. And you look at the personalities now, that if they bring in Le'Veon Bell, I mean, then you're talking about a room where you have Sam Darnold, who's, again, quiet, kind of more like an Adam Gase. But then your leader of your defense is Jamal Adams, who's very outspoken, and I like Adams a hell of a lot. Then you have Le'Veon Bell possibly coming into the mix, and Le'Veon Bell's been running his own show for like a year and a half. He's been doing just his own thing. And then you have Adam Gase, who can't keep anybody really in line or anybody together. I don't think discipline is going to be there. I don't think any communication is going to be there. And then you have Gregg Williams, who was there with Jeff Fisher. He's been on some disaster teams. He was only good when he had a tremendous head coach or he had a tremendous offensive coordinator that would keep everybody in line, or if he was leading the ship himself. He was very good in New Orleans, but that's because he had Sean Payton there. And Sean Payton would pretty much control that building and keep it firm and keep it in place. And now Gregg Williams is going to be free to roam. And, you know, Gregg Williams and Hugh Jackson, that was a disaster in Cleveland from a personality clashing standpoint. And I look at Todd Haley and Adam Gase in similar lights, and Todd Haley and Gregg Williams, I don't really think that they got along either. So I just look at this thing, and I think it's going to explode within 2 years. This Jets organization, why I laid it out, you have no continuity between these personalities. The skill level is not great between anybody on the staff. This Jets thing, this new coaching staff that Christopher Johnson put together is one of the worst coaching staffs I could ever imagine. You have Gregg Williams, who's a complete loose cannon. You have Adam Gase, who's a weirdo psychopath, manipulated. Adam, we have Sam Darnold here. Darnold going to do what he needs to do, and so you have Adam Gase, and then you have Christopher Johnson. Well, we brought in Adam because, we really liked how he was able to work with our players, and it's really about the process that we really look at. And Adam is a guy that who had some success in Miami, and playing him twice a year, it was so difficult. And Maccagnan. Those are the personalities that you're rolling with, Jets fans. That's what you have to look forward to. It's going to be a complete failure. It's not going to be Colin Cowherd's dream of AFC title games. I don't believe in the quarterback there. I don't believe in anything. And out of every organization in the NFL, I think the Jets are the worst run organization. I think their coaching staff is the worst out of anybody in the NFL right now. And I think it's going to explode. I think the whole thing's going to implode, explode, walking the plank, whatever adjective. In 2 years, Maccagnan, GASE, and Gregg Williams will all be gone from the Jets. Nobody will be working there. There will be no survivors whatsoever. The Jets are going to go this year 4-12 or 5-11. GASE and the whole organization might just get fired this year, or it'll happen next year. And then you'll have Christopher Johnson making another decision, and then he'll have another chance to get it right, but most likely he'll just completely screw it up again. He took into account nothing about the personalities of these guys. There was no vetting done. It was horrendous. If I was hiring a head coach, I would have looked at 3 guys for the Jet job. I would have looked at Matt Rule, who ironically they had. Because Matt Rule, when he was at Temple, he took Temple's program and he completely turned around Temple's program. He's a New York guy who knows the Northeast really well. He's a brilliant communicator, and he's very good defensively, and he's worked multiple position groups, and at Temple, he turned that program around. At Baylor, he's doing the same thing. They just won a bowl game versus Vanderbilt, and they won 6 games after Art Briles completely destroyed that place with his immoral ethics of the football program and all of the rapes that were going on with the football players and the student body there. So Rule took that over, and Matt Rule did a tremendous job of digging them out of a hole. Matt Rule's a really good communicator, and he would have brought over his staff, and he would have had very good continuity within the staff, okay? I would have probably fired Maccagnan to start off, but I would have looked at Rule. Another guy who's going to be a brilliant coach or a really smart guy is Chris Richard. And Chris Richard is he's a special guy, a once-in-a-lifetime personality, where he's unbelievable at game planning, unbelievable in technique, very hands-on teacher, excellent teacher. If I could choose to have one guy be a teacher, I would choose to work with Richard. He would be the most fun guy to work with. He reminds me of some of my favorite high school teachers or coaches that I came across. And he's disciplined. He is very detail-oriented, but he also knows how to have fun and cut it loose. And I couldn't be a bigger fan of Chris Richard. And if you guys watch my videos, you know that I hold Richard in the highest possible light. Now, he would need an offensive coordinator, and he would need some stable guys, because Richard can even get so fired up. The only downside, or there is downsides, one, he's not an offensive coordinator, and 2, sometimes his personality can get over the edge just a tad. And most of the time it's great, but he has to work on hitting that line where he's not like literally fighting the other coaches. But when he's doing that, it rallies the organization and the troops, and it's fun. The third guy is a guy that you'd have to vet in terms of his personality, because he might be an Adam Gase, he might be a Mike Maccagnan, he might kind of be a nerdy guy that doesn't get along with players, but from a game plan standpoint, Shane Waldron is brilliant. I love his work with the LA Rams. His interviews are very smart. He went to Tufts, which is a really unbelievable school. He's from Portland, Oregon, a progressive city. Tufts, Portland, Oregon, worked at Notre Dame, worked with Bill Belichick and the Patriots, went overseas and saw the game from an overseas lens, and then he came back and worked with Sean McVay for the last 3 seasons. So he has Belichick, he has Charlie Weiss in his corner, he has McVay, Zach Taylor, Matt LaFleur. All these guys came across Shane Waldron, and Waldron looks like a guy who's very assertive and just very, very bright. And if he could get along with players, he's going to be an unbelievable coach. And I can't wait to see what this guy does. I think the sky's the limit for Shane Waldron. So those are the guys that I would have looked at. Also, Zach Taylor, would have been the fourth guy. Zach and LaFleur was hired early. But you should have at least interviewed Zach Taylor. Taylor probably would have went to the Jets over the Bengals just because the Jets are more of a stable situation. Ironically, the Jets, have Sam Darnold, who's very appealing. They have a very good defense. And the Jets, if they would have made the right hire, they could have been like the Chicago Bears, where they had a terrific defense, a good offensive coach, and then if you hired an excellent defensive coordinator, Gregg Williams is a pretty good defensive coordinator, but his personality is just so wild that I would have looked to hire somebody that's more tame, maybe like an Eric Washington, maybe like a Steve Wilkes, and try to roll with it from there. But anyhow, I also wouldn't sign Le'Veon Bell, but I want to see the damn circus. I mean, this is the freaking circus. Let's damn see the circus already. So the Jets, I think Adam Gase is going to completely fail. And again, like you Jets fans are just going to say, oh, you hate Sam Darnold, that this is biased. But this is truthfully 1,000% my opinion, that when you have McCagnon, when you have Grandma Johnson, when you have Tiger Williams, and you have the crazy, ness of Adam Gase, who really doesn't take over a room. Who is going to take over a room? Who is going to lead this team? How is everything going to be parallel? How is the organization all going to be going in one direction? You have McCagnon running his own thing. You have Adam Gase running his own room. And you have Gregg Williams, and everybody is just running their own room. And nobody is collaborating. Nobody is game planning. Nobody's speaking to each other. It's a social disaster, and I think it's going to turn into an NFL disaster. I think it's one of the worst hired staffs I could ever remember being assembled. If the Jets make the playoffs this year, if the Jets make the playoffs next year, and Adam Gase is here for 4 seasons, if he's starting his 4th year, I will come on here and apologize, and I'll re-air this video. But this is just what I think. These are just my unadulterated thoughts on the New York Jets. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And it's an honest opinion. Again, the Jets Central's my friend. Chad Pennington was one of my favorites growing up. Curtis Martin, Lavertius Coles, of course, Wayne Trebet, Revis, Jim Leonard, Curtis Martin, Herm Edwards. I like this organization. I have nothing against it. I rooted for this organization. I rooted for Rex Ryan, Mark Sanchez, Dustin Keller, Braylon Edwards. I rooted for that organization. I rooted for Bart Scott. And I think the Jets have a great fan base and are a likable team. I don't love Sam Darnold's skill set. That's not a secret to anybody here. But the Jets organization right now, I think, is in deep trouble. And I'm not just going to be biased one way or the other. These are just my true opinions on the coaching staff that you have assembled and the future that I see for this organization.